So, are you getting hate in the comments? Maybe you said something on somebody else's post, or it's even on your own content, or maybe you just said something in a conversation and somebody took it the wrong way. If you also have been following me on Carly Uncensored, or you've been following me for a while, you might also know about my video where I talked about the art of pissing people off and triggers, and also integrity. This has been a theme that has come up in my life for a very long time, okay? So I've been tracing back through my past, mostly looking for gold for my community and for my own, basically looking at my awakening into a higher level of myself. And I was like, okay, so I was always a little bit of a spitfire, but there used to be a time when my voice was silenced, or I was thinking maybe I shouldn't say that thing because I'll get in trouble. Maybe I shouldn't say that thing because somebody doesn't like it. Maybe I should change my tone. Maybe I should change my approach. Maybe I should change the things that I'm saying. Maybe I shouldn't say that exactly that way. And what I've learned over the years is that a lot of things that I said in the past they ring true today. There were some things that I said in the past that don't really resonate anymore because I have more knowledge, like saying I'd rather have a C-section and a tummy tuck than have a natural birth. That I don't agree with anymore. You need to stay in your marriage no matter what, because as long as they're not hitting you, then this is as good as it gets and you can always turn it around. I don't believe that anymore. You need to make sure that your kids follow all of the rules all of the time because that's what makes a good mom, or you need to self-sacrifice because that's what makes a good mom. I don't believe that anymore either. I have very healthy, strong boundaries, and I have a strong sense of self-worth. And there was a time where I was also told, you can't be so full of yourself because people won't like you. That's not true. The people who are meant for you actually will appreciate that you have high self-esteem because that gives them permission to glow and not feel like they're leaving you behind, even if they are going to the next levels. I also was told, you can't challenge authority. And I challenge authority. I challenge systems that don't really serve people. I ask the questions that nobody else seems to be brave enough to ask. And this is what ties in today. Because, as we're approaching the weekend, it's Wednesday. My son's homesick, unfortunately. And he's going back to school tomorrow because I think it was a food poisoning or something he had. I don't know. But that's why I'm in my bedroom. Because normally, I've got my nice background. And you're like, well, what's Carly doing in her bedroom? That's why. My son's taken over my Empowered Mom studio. But as I approach the weekend and I have no idea what's coming, I've just been able to lean into trust that my message will get to the people that it needs to get to. And I've been kind of out there flying. If you watched my last video, I kind of had to take a step back from something else that I wanted to do. Because, sometimes if people aren't ready, or they've got something else they need to do and you really can't connect with them at that same level at the moment because it's getting to the point where it's like, okay, I clearly need to focus on myself right now. And, you can always come and distract me. I'm happy to be distracted by the right people. My friends know that. My love language is bug me. So even if I'm out there in the world doing my magic, you can always send me a message, and one of two things are going to happen. Either I'm going to be really excited to hear from you, and I'm going to answer the message right away, and it's going to be epic, and I'll be like, okay, yeah, I can put this thing aside that I'm doing. Or I'm going to see that you're messaging. I'm going to have to wait until after I finish the epic thing that I'm already doing, and then I'll message you right away. Or I'll see your message, I'll be like, I've got a whole lot of things on my plate, this isn't urgent, and I will get back to it when I have the time available, but I will get back to you. And then there's those messages that you really don't have to engage with at all because they're full of hate and nastiness and you just don't want to deal with that. And that's the same thing with comments. There are going to be haters on your comments. There are going to be haters in the replies to your comments on other people's stuff. You're going to have to get used to it. If you really want to shine in this world, you have to get used to the haters. You have to get used to people misunderstanding you. You have to get used to people that may be triggered by what you said. And, some people will attack you for not having the right credentials. Now, I kind of run my work in a way that's a little bit controversial, in that information is free and I only charge for access to me. And there's actually a reason for that. Those who control information and gatekeep it, well, they can decide what they give you, right? But if you have access to all of the information, you can make an informed choice. But if only a certain narrative is being perpetuated, then you don't have options. So over the last 11 years now, what happened is when I was a first-time mom, I didn't know anything about anything when I was trying to have a natural birth, and I got screwed over because I didn't know all of the other little pieces, and I didn't know that information was being deliberately kept from me to keep me making the same choice that they wanted me to make, which was to have a hospital birth and to possibly even induce, but they didn't win at that. But they did get rid of my home birth because in their mind, if I did have a small for gestational age baby or a growth restricted baby, that covers their butt, right? And I'm a first-time mom. Untested pelvis covers their butt. But at the same time, it screwed me over. And, things have happened in my life when I was a child and in my adolescence that I kind of have seen that sometimes certain authorities and experts, they are not as trustworthy as you would like to think. They don't have your best interests at heart. They have the best interests of the organization. Yeah, I said it. And you know what? I might get hate in the comments for it, and I really don't care because I am in integrity here by saying that. I am speaking a truth that is uncomfortable, and this is why we need to do that. Because, I am in the birth community. And I started speaking out. I found the people that were fiery and unapologetic and raw and visceral in their stories and speaking out against an injustice. And I jumped on that as soon as possible. I'm like, why wasn't I told that? And I became an advocate. And I started doing more digging. And the more I dug for the information that's hard to find, the more I found. And, the thing is that wisdom comes from multiple perspectives. Somebody very wise and very intelligent once said that. And when they said that, I was like, yes, wisdom does come from multiple perspectives. And the other thing is sometimes you have to dig in the dark to find the light, to bring the torch back to the people, to light the fires of everybody else around you so that they can now see in the dark. And so that's what I did, is I would gather up all of this information that I was finding, and I would put it on my rally page. And I would be like, here's another obscure fact that people don't know about. Here's another one. Here's another one. And I'd find them all, and I'd put them all in one place and let people come to their own conclusions. I also would add a little bit of context. And sometimes I would say things like, well, this is an outright lie that they've been telling you. See, here's the information. And people would say, you probably shouldn't say that they're lying. You should say it in a nicer way. And I'm like, no, because that doesn't evoke emotion. And you need to evoke emotion in people. Facts on their own are good. However, when you evoke emotion, that's when it reaches them. So, right now I'm running my Reset Your Mindset for Empowered Birth mini challenge, and I have basically put it on my YouTube, and then I'm also putting out a reel a day on my Instagram. Not this one, but my other account at Empowering Mom's Birth. So if you're not following me there and you are in the birth space, or you know people who are planning to grow their family or start their family, that's my page. You can also go into the link in my bio. I do have my birth stuff in there, and the Reset Your Mindset for Empowered Birth Challenge is in there too. But I'm speaking these truths because nobody else seems to see it or say it. Maybe they might not be brave enough to say it. Maybe they might be working in a system that makes it clear that if they say that thing, they lose their job. Maybe if they say that thing, they are afraid of that pushback. I'm not afraid of the pushback. You know, there was a time where I had no friends. And the reason I had no friends was because I was so unapologetic in who I was. And I was this kind, sweet girl. But I was also very, very strong in what I wanted. If I didn't think that a trend was cool, I would say, you know, I don't really want to wear that. You can wear that, that's okay, but I don't really think that that looks good on me. And honestly, I don't like that, so I'm not going to do that. And people would get offended. They'd be like, how dare you say that? And of course, mean girls become mean moms. Unless they grow up. So, a lot of moms that I can tell have that mean girl mentality were throwing a lot of hate at me. They were flinging stuff at me. I'm sitting there in the comments and I'm like, you know what? This thing that you're showing is actually pretty scary. And a mom who wants a hands-off birth, because you haven't spoken about informed consent and said that this isn't something that has to happen, you can choose it if you go the medical model. Because that context wasn't there, a lot of moms would see that and be like, I'm scared now. I'm freaked out even more because that's not the kind of birth I want. But because it's an overwhelmingly medical lens, they might be afraid to put that comment in there because there's an idea that they would be seen as a bad mother. So instead of leaving it like that, I called it out. Because maybe those moms can't speak. Maybe they're too afraid. Maybe they are doubting themselves, wondering if there's something wrong with them. So I'm putting out this idea of like, you know, I see what you're doing. There's a little piece missing here. Here it is for the moms who need to know it. And also, like, it doesn't have to be this way because here's another experience. And oh my goodness, I get more hate for those than I get the happy comments because the happy comments, of course, are afraid of the hate. So then these moms are like, well, I don't feel that way. I feel that you're just scaremongering. And I'm like, I'm scaremongering? I'm scaremongering. Are you serious? Because, you know, that's the gaslighting that happens in our society. When a woman, especially a woman, but also men, when they speak an uncomfortable truth or call something out that has been normalized in society, normalized trauma, and I call this positive trauma culture, by the way, but in the sphere of birth, it's positive birth trauma culture. And I call it out, and they're offended because now they have to look at themselves. They have to look at that uncomfortable truth that they were sweeping under the rug. If you look at people in the lens and comments and everything as a mirror, the mirror goes two ways. One, showing your magnificence and power, and then the other one is showing any blind spots that you have. And when it shows your magnificence and power, it's not always positive. Sometimes it's the hate. Sometimes it's the nasty comments that used to trigger you in the past that would have had you dim your light and make you feel like nobody is listening and nobody likes you. And they still hurt. I mean, when I kept getting that hate, it did hurt. But at the same time, I'm like, this is her. I mean, somebody decided to go into my DMs and be like, oh, I get it now. You're just a shill. You're trying to sell your stuff. And you're using fear-mongering to get people to buy your stuff. And I'm like, this is really unkind. And, you know, I'm going to just block you now for my peace. Because I'm not putting up with that. The fact is like, I wasn't trying to sell my stuff. Information is free. Anybody who actually says, oh, you're just trying to sell something, and you put your information out for free, you have it right there, and it's like, nobody has to buy it from me. It's right there. I put it out there. They can buy my book if they want. They can buy my courses. They can work with me if I feel it's aligned. But no, I'm not gatekeeping anything. I'm putting it out there. I told it to you. I told you where the trail is. I told you what other resources that you get that aren't even attached to me, that I got the wisdom from, that I'm now bringing. You can use it or not. I don't care. Because at the end of the day, you don't know how much time you have. You don't know if this is your last day. Like, you really don't know. And you can either spend your entire life afraid, wishing that you'd said the things that you had said, or you can say it and accept either the rejection, the fallout, the uncomfortable conversation that has to happen, but it could also turn out better than you think. So, I used to be afraid. I used to be afraid of telling people how I felt about them. I used to be afraid of annoying people. I used to be afraid of triggering people. Not anymore. Now I know that it's a mirror. I'm putting up a mirror. I mean, literally, I'm putting up a mirror. I'm a reflector. That's my human design type. I'm a reflector. So I sample energies from different places and I put them out there. And what I'm seeing is what I'm calling out. And I'm here to shine light. But in order to shine light, I have to go into the dark spaces and shine the light there. Because light with more light, you can't see it. It's just more light. It's just bright. It's just happy. So you need to do both. And you need to also show the shadows. Because without darkness, there is no light. Without light, there is no darkness. So it's both. It's duality. It's polarity. You have to understand that if you're going to shine your light and you're going to get out there and you're going to be visible to people, or you're going to be in that space with somebody and talk to them and have authentic conversations and connections, there are going to be moments when your wounds are going to come up and you're going to be triggered, and it's up to you to decide. Did they do it on purpose to hurt me? Or is this my stuff? And I don't do things on purpose to hurt people. I mean, I do have that shadow side, and I used to want to use it. And at the same time now, I don't want to hurt anybody. I just want to point out the truths. Now, if somebody continues to throw fire at me, I am going to stand up for myself, and I am going to set boundaries, and I am going to show that I've got a little bit of bite to my scorpion sting, to warn them. Watch out. You're really treading right now. You're really testing my patience, and I'm not putting up with it. If you keep doing it, I absolutely will use what I need to use. And I mean, this is technically what the ideal birth vision and the backup plans is. Because if you get to a certain point with certain people, I call them category 5s, sometimes you got to use their own poison against them to heal. So when you are in that vein of recognizing that it's all about energy and matching that energy, well, then it doesn't matter what anybody says. And I just got it again. I put out another comment on another thing for another birth site, and I was speaking all truths, and somebody's like, oh, but she doesn't have any credentials. She's not a nurse or a doctor. And I'm like, yeah, I deliberately didn't go into that space because I don't want my knowledge curated. I don't want my hands tied. The nurses and birth workers that I speak with, they're actually looking to me to stay out of that because they can't say it. Because I sat in on meetings with them. I heard the stories, the things that they couldn't tell their clients, the things they couldn't warn them about. And I say it. So I'm like, yeah, no, you're right. I don't have credentials. I don't gatekeep my information. I am the birth worker that is of the old world, where wisdom was passed down through oral tradition, before they had the written word, before they had access to the written word. I'm the archiver. I pull from the past, and I save things that others might try to delete later, to censor it. And, you know, the thing is that we all need to be doing this. That's what it comes down to. We need to be speaking our truths. If you have a truth, and you're afraid to speak it, and it's in integrity, and you know it's not going to harm anybody, but actually set them free of the fear and the control, then you owe it to the world to say it. Don't hide. And if there's somebody in your life that you absolutely love and adore, tell them, because you may not get another chance to tell them. Even if they would be waiting for your call. What if something happened? I mean, we really don't know how much time we have. Yeah, it's good to be getting ready and to prepare if you really need to take that time to think clearly about what you're going to say. And I did take that time to think about what I wanted to say so that I could say it with complete integrity and lay my heart bare and speak my truths. I do go into my own little cocoon, and then I emerge as a butterfly. But when I emerge, I am speaking that truth. And I did speak that truth in many different ways. I've said it to friends. I've cleared the air with people. I have said it to my true love, whom I know he's on his way to me. I don't know when. I hope it's this weekend, because I have the weekend all to myself. So if he did reach out between now and Friday afternoon, preferably today, Thursday is still possible, then we could have a plan together. He could plan it all out, and he could have me all to himself from about Friday night all the way to Sunday evening, if he so chose. And, you know, we'd have so much to talk about. But even if he can't, if there's just something that he just has to do, and he can't be there in person, he could always FaceTime. Because, you know, I do have a digital presence, and I am happy to set time aside. But again, you know, he might have meetings, he might have other things to do. You never know what somebody is doing, right? And if they really do need to focus on themselves, then you need to let them do that. But at the same time, the door is always open. I leave it open for people. I only shut a door if somebody is deciding to throw hate and nastiness at me. Like this person who decided that it wasn't enough to comment in public and be nasty. She had to go and find my account and then DM me to try to attack me. And it's like, you're not silencing me, lady. If anything, I'm just going to silence you on my feed, because you don't get to stress me out on my phone. But no, I'm not going to stop talking. I'm not going to stop shining my light. I'm not going to stop selling my services. And I'm not going to stop putting my stuff out for free. I intend to go big with this. So this is the announcement. Carly's not hiding anymore. Carly is speaking her truths. All of them. So you can either get comfortable with that, or you can try to ignore it. But either way, I'm speaking those truths. Nobody is silencing me anymore. Nobody is telling me what I can and cannot say. If it is in my heart, if I feel that it's going to help somebody else get out of that darkness, I am going to say it. And I'm going to say it in the most integrity that I can possibly say it in. I may say it in code. I may say it in a way that mostly just shows the path, and I don't have to say everything that happened, because it's up to me how much I share. And I'm going to leave those rabbit holes and those trails, and the white rabbit is free. She is not in a cage, and she's not going back in a cage. And even if something happened, there is a trail. I have shared with people. I have things. I put my archives, no. The truth is out there. And it will continue to be out there. Because I am so tired, so frustrated, so annoyed by the people that will challenge the narrative. They will basically question others who are speaking truths, but they won't question the systems that are actually gatekeeping the knowledge. I am so tired of the gaslighting. I am so tired of the invalidating of emotions and feelings. I am so tired of the positive trauma culture that says that we just have to be happy all the time. No, I'm optimizing for aliveness. As my dear friend and mentor Annie Lala says, I'm optimizing for aliveness. I am alive. I am fiery. I am unapologetic. I speak truths and I uncover secrets. And I'll keep the secrets that need to be kept if they're personal, if they are raw heart feelings that people don't need to know. But I will share the surface message, the one that allows people to find their own truths. With my clients, it's the same thing. I share what they want me to share. I don't share personal details unless they say that that's relevant to the story. And I'm going to ask the permission before I share that. But, I will share my side of the stories. I will always share my side. I will share about how things went down in my family from my perspective. And my perspective, if you really must know, and you probably would need to know this, is that there was a time when I was 11 years old where my entire life fell apart. My family was severely traumatized by this event. I lost people. Family members were taken unfairly, both from this world and also from society. They were put in cages. They were silenced. Their words were twisted against them. And it was splashed all over media. In fact, if somebody actually knew who I was and knew that timeline that I'm talking about, they could easily go back and they'd probably go into Google and they would find the way that the media splashed things. And as a little girl, I couldn't really do anything about it other than asking a teacher to say, well, we're going to not run this as a current event because it's going to hurt a student in our class. No, he decided to do it anyway, and he did it in the most horrible way possible. And then all of the kids were getting this narrative that was not true, and it really upset me. And then I would get made fun of for crying. Yes, my trauma was made light of. Yes, a lot of people distanced themselves from me even further. I was already unpopular, so this just hit the nail right into the coffin of my unpopularity. And meanwhile, I'm standing there defending my family because I was not going to allow them to say those horrible things. And then what happens, of course, is that we had to move away because we were so stuck in that every time that something would come up, like the trial would come up, those stories would come back out. And it was just too much. So we left. And I started a new life. And I didn't tell a lot of people about what was going on. In fact, it was a big secret. I didn't want to tell people what was going on or what I had been through. And then there were people that would use that against me. But not anymore. Not anymore. I'm going to speak that truth. And the bigger I get, the more that truth is going to be spoken. And if people don't like it, well, it's my story. And you know, there's so many that are afraid to speak the skeletons in their closet, and I'm not. And you need to speak the skeletons in your closet. You need to talk about the abuses that happened to you, because other people are afraid to speak about their abuses. You need to speak about the holes that are in the logic of the system or in society, because other people are afraid to speak it. They may not have the voice or the platform that you have. And yes, you're going to get hate for it. Yes, you're going to get a lot of comments that are like, how dare you speak this thing? You know what? That is a key that it's working. Because if they are seeing it and they're triggered by it and they are triggered enough to comment on it, guess who gets more visible? Yeah, exactly. And then there's going to be a few people, not very many, but a few, that'll be like, thank you, this is exactly what I needed to hear. And they'll say it very quietly, very mouse-like. And then there might be others that see it, who also have platforms or want to have platforms, who resonate with that message so deeply and they want to amplify that message. And so they will put more in and say, yes, this is exactly it. And here's another piece. I don't know if you've already seen this, but here's another piece for your audience. Here's some more value. My true love, oh, he's just the smartest man. I was just so blown away when he said that the best way to get someone's attention is to drop value and to enhance their message. And I'm like, you are just on fire, baby. Like you know exactly how to play the game. And you play the game at my level. And wouldn't it be nice if we played the game together? You in your space, me in mine, and we come together? Oh yeah, it would be fire, wouldn't it? Absolutely. But you know, we have to do it with integrity. We can't be those teenagers that would go a little bit wild with our fire and burn everything down. No, it's strategic burning. It's strategically uncovering things. So, I mean, you have to be at a certain level where you're not going to use it for evil. But when the right powers come together, it can really change the tide. And you know, a drop in the ocean creates ripples, and many ripples together create waves, and enough waves together do change the tide, as I always say. So, as I said, you really need to go out there and speak your message and say it louder. And you know, everybody has a social media. It really doesn't take much. You know, I used to be a wallflower. I hated Facebook. I hated Instagram. I didn't want to get on those platforms. I didn't want to be visible. I just wanted other people to be visible. So I was sharing other people's things. But the more I was sharing other people's things, the more I realized that I needed to be visible to really speak my truths and my messages, because nobody else could say it the way I could say it. So I had to get over that. I had to get over the shyness. I had to get over the fear of being seen. Because the last time I'd been seen and I'd spoken unapologetically, I'd been told that I was weird, that I was crazy. They tried to shut me down. And I believed it for a very long time. But I was just the ugly duckling in a nest full of ducks and like farm animals. I'm actually a swan. And the swans appreciate me flying high. The swans appreciate me speaking and being magnificent and shining. And your swans will too. So don't be afraid of the haters. They're just triggered by what you said. Or maybe they're threatened by it because they know that you're speaking the truth and it's a truth that threatens their way of life. Or there's some shame or guilt attached to it, and they actually do feel that there's a piece of them that is resonating, and they're trying to squash that piece down because they're so traumatized. You don't know what people have been through. You don't know what their motivations are until you know how to pull off the masks. And I pull off the masks with every comment that I leave, with every video that I put out there. I'm constantly looking. Are you authentic? Can you hang with me? Can you let your ego go to the side and actually be real with me? Or are you trying to control the narrative so that you look good? Because if you're trying to control the narrative to make you look good, it's not going to work with me. It's just not. I see people, and I will reflect your truths back to you. And you know what? I'm standing for your greatness. I'm standing for you surpassing that darkness. I'm standing for you being a better human being in this world. Okay? You can do better than this. You didn't grow up being this way. When you were born, you were a sweet child. If you're not that sweet child anymore, if you're dark and horrible to people, that's from your own wounding. Okay? And you need to heal that. You don't need to go into somebody's DMs and spread hate. What does that accomplish? I'm out here on my social media and I'm speaking my truths. You think I care that you are threatened by that? No, I don't care. Do you know why I don't care? Simple. I've helped women. I've helped mothers who resonated with what I said and said, thank you for saying that. And then they said, how do I take your classes? And then they said, how do I work with you directly? You don't charge enough for what you offer. I would pay thousands more for what you give, is what I've heard. And you know what? That's who I'm speaking to. And then there's the other ones that are like, I wish I could have said it the way you said it. You said it even better than I've said it. You took the thing that I said and you made it even more accessible for others to understand it so that I can now shine brighter. Well, of course, Queen or King, of course I'm going to do that. I like what you're saying. I agree with it. I want you to do better. Or I see it's like, I can see you're trying to do better. I can see that you're trying to support. And there's this little piece here that if you were to clear that off or bring something new in, you would be able to do your job at a higher level and do good. And then there's the ones that the saints we see who are painted gold, and we realize that actually the ones that say, you need to listen to me because I have all of the answers and you know nothing, and you follow them blindly, and then it turns out that they are trying to lead you into a trap. Well, if I speak a truth that's uncomfortable that they want to silence, why do you think the witch trials happened in the first place? Do you really think it was a bunch of witches? Or is it a bunch of unapologetic women that spoke their truth and didn't fit into the box that society wanted them in because we were really inconvenient? Why do you think older women are often vilified and called old hags or whatever stupid term you want to use? The older we get, the more unapologetic we get, the more hate we get. Why is it that beautiful, powerful women get so much hate thrown at them? Why is it that men who speak out against certain things suddenly get called horrible names? Why is that? When they're speaking and the women are sitting there and they're like, thank you for finally saying it. And then there's a whole bunch of men in the comments that are trying to tear them down? Really? Really? You're going to tell me that the ones that are tearing them down are actually the ones that know anything? No. So, if they're tearing you down, keep shining. Because the brighter you shine, the more you're going to be seen. The more you get to be seen, the more the right people will come into your sphere. And the louder you get, well, the more you start to see that all the world is a stage, as William Shakespeare once said. All the world is a stage. I think it was Shakespeare. I know it's a poem. I know it was in my English class, and I wish I remembered the rest of it. I'll have to go and dig it up. But all the world is a stage. You're the star. Everybody around you, your supporting cast, and then the audience. How do you want to go out in the world? How do you want to do it? You want to keep hiding? You're the freaking star. You can't hide on your stage. Get out there. Seriously. I'm going to invite you to get out there. If you find any value in what I said, then I'm going to encourage you to quote me. Go ahead. Go ahead and quote me. Tag me. Say, Carly said this thing. And even if it pissed you off, go ahead. Go ahead and get on your soapbox and tell me how I'm wrong. Because you know what? Maybe there's something I missed. Or maybe, just maybe, it's all you. And you won't figure that out until you actually speak your truth. Okay? I love you. I know that you're going to speak your message. I know that you're going to connect with the people that you're meant to connect with. I know that you're going to become visible and shine. Because that's what you're meant to do. That's what you came here to do. You didn't come here to hide. Seriously, you didn't come here to hide. Go back and think about how you were as a child before the world told you to be quiet. Go back and think about the time when you believed that people were good before you were treated horribly. And you'll see it. You'll heal your inner child, and you'll also temper your angry teenager. And then you will go out into the world and you will shine and you will bring that light to others. Because now you are the light and you are the darkness. You are both. And, you know, if you do care to reach out to me this weekend, what I'm really focused on is just working on editing some videos and doing some transcripts because, again, I've decided to be incredibly visible. Even my videos I've decided to add to transcripts because a friend of mine was like, do you have a transcript of this? I'm like, I'm working on those. And I'm going to embed links into them as well so you can keep following the rabbit holes and go through my little wonderland. And, yeah, I'm just going to chill. I really don't have a lot on as a plan, but, you know, if a certain opportunity presented itself, if a certain opportunity was ripe for the taking and ready to go, well, I'd love to fly with that aligned person. I enjoy the connection time. And, you know, if that person isn't watching, but somebody who is in connection with that person is watching, they know the message. They know they can pass that on. After all, I didn't close the door on certain things. I just left it open and went and flew for a bit. And I'm scattering all of my messages and I'm doing my thing. And, you know, it's always better in person. So, yeah, that is the message. Anyway, I am going to go back to working on my stuff, being even more visible, triggering more people into recognizing the holes in the system, dropping those little rabbit holes in the white rabbit for them to follow. And if they follow, that's awesome. They get to go into Wonderland and they get to find their own magic and realize that they are the queen or king of their own world. If they don't follow that magic, well, maybe they'll follow it in the future. But, you know, I'm completely detached. And I am not afraid of the haters. They won't silence me. Ever. It just won't happen. I've left enough trails. I've put enough stuff out there for people that even if they silenced me, it's out there. So, game, set, match. Go and shine and expose the darkness. I love you. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.